Let me start this video like this. Chances are you look okay. You look normal. The entire history of beauty ideals is just different types of okay looking people being presented in certain ways to make them conventionally good looking for their time and place. This could be a statue of an ancient Greek woman that has a softer body than what we consider ideal today, being posed in an elegant way and adorned with clothes that were fashionable during her time. And it could be a skinny model with a fierce face and long legs strutting confidently down the runway, wearing an outfit she was specifically chosen for. Or a photo of a fit influencer with the Instagram face and perfectly tanned skin sitting on a wet beach near turquoise water. I think we mostly see women with sharp features and certain types of fit or skinny bodies as good looking today because those are the features we see presented with other beautiful or otherwise desirable things. In this case, trendy clothes or a beautiful location. You don't have to be pretty because what is pretty changes day by day. And this is without talking about all the recent micro trends and aesthetics like clean girl, old money, rockstar girlfriend, coastal grandma, dark academia, Y2K. All these styles are more or less important to different people online or offline. And what is a perfect look for the rockstar girlfriend is terrible for the clean girl. What's good for dark academia is boring for Y2K, and so on. You don't have to be pretty because nothing is universally pretty. By this, I mean that you don't have to be pretty to everyone because it's literally impossible, but more in general, you don't have to be pretty to anyone. Apart from conventional and therefore subjective beauty, which changes from time and place, I do believe there is objective beauty, but it plays a much smaller role when we decide who is good looking. Some degree of facial symmetry and lack of external indicators of bad health are things that most people have and that make these people look okay. Plus, there are various ways to enhance your natural appearance. And as I said before, the only difference between being okay and being beautiful is how you present yourself, or how people with your features are generally presented in your time and place. This is why if you clicked on this video because you generally feel ugly, I want to tell you that most likely you are objectively not ugly. You look okay. And if that makes you think, but I don't want to be just okay, I want to be pretty, that's because companies and other people made you think that you're not pretty enough. And to them, you will never be pretty enough because you thinking that beauty is a very important aspect of you and you believing that you are not pretty enough benefits both these entities. For companies, it's because your feeling of lacking beauty is another fake problem they can fix by selling you their products. In other words, you don't have to be pretty because in your attempt to be pretty, you buy into consumerism, which wastes your money and worsens the planet. I talk about this more in my stop buying expensive makeups and skincare video. I will hopefully link down below if I don't forget. And for other people, it's beneficial for you to believe that you need to be beautiful because if you believe that beauty has a high value, then you won't question why others believe that beauty has high value. You don't have to be pretty because worrying about being pretty prevents you from questioning the importance of beauty. And if we all start questioning why appearances are so important, then we can break down the whole idea and make the world less superficial. I don't think the need to be or feel beautiful is something that we are born with. It's definitely something we're taught, mostly indirectly. I talked about this with my mom, and she said, but even 5-year-old girls want to feel beautiful. But I believe that that's because even 5-year-old girls have already heard adults call them pretty or cute. They have heard adults call people with certain features ugly, and maybe have even seen other little girls being treated differently by adults because of their looks. I also think that the need to be beautiful is not innate because when I get off of social media for some time, don't go outside or look at myself in the mirror, I stop thinking of myself as less pretty than other girls and I stop caring about what I look like. Going back to what I talked about earlier, I also think that what we consider beautiful or normal comes more from what we see around ourselves than some innate beauty ideal. I listened to some K-pop, and over the span of a few months, I would see the singers' faces on the songs' covers and see these singers perform in shorts or reels. Meanwhile, most other social media content I consumed was memes and text stories, and to talk to my friends over text, accidentally making it so that most of the faces I saw during the day were the faces of these Korean singers. At a certain point, when I looked at myself in the mirror, something started to subconsciously not feel right because I sensed that my face and body didn't look like the faces and bodies I was seeing day to day. Of course, I've always felt like I was too fat compared to others. But this time, why was I feeling weird about my eyes? Once I put two and two together and understood that I felt this way because I have been seeing mostly very pretty Korean girls on a daily basis instead of girls that look more like me, I started thinking more critically about what I consider beautiful. After all, it is physically impossible for me to reach this beauty ideal I have accidentally taught myself without some very questionable plastic surgery. Once I realized I was influenced by the faces I saw around me, I was able to put aside this prejudice towards my own features and see my face for what it is, a collection of features that make me recognizable to myself and others, as well as body parts that exist to serve their respective functions. That's what bodies and faces are for. They make us recognizable and let us interact with the world while also keeping us alive. They aren't made to be beautiful for whatever standards are accepted at the time and place of your existence. Plus, if we were all beautiful, then we would all look the same. And what happens when we all look the same? The ones that are different start to stand out and become the new beauty. Therefore, you don't have to be pretty because that's not what you're made for. It's sad in general that we place such a strong emphasis on looks, even tying them to morals. Like, you've definitely heard people say, I would let them ruin my life, when referring to a beautiful person. But that's just stupid because you are literally saying that that beautiful person has more value than you. There's literally a thing called the halo effect. Generally, the halo effect is the fact that when we see a person have one very good attribute, we assume that the person has many other good attributes. But because we're talking about beauty now, in this case, the halo effect is when we believe good looking people to be morally better people, which also works the other way, making us feel like people that are ugly are somehow automatically bad people. The halo effect has been around for so long that it has shaped how we think. Beautiful being associated with good and ugly being associated with bad. Think of Cinderella and the Ugly Stepsisters. That story has been told millions of times, and many details vary from telling to telling. But the stepsisters are always ugly because their ugliness feels like an outward manifestation of their evil. The halo effect is deeply ingrained into how we think, but we need to catch ourselves when we think this way and correct ourselves, stopping this prejudice towards others so we can stop applying it towards ourselves. Apart from it affecting the way we view other people and ourselves, our emphasis on beauty affects our words and actions towards our bodies and the bodies of others. Being skinny is in again, and chances are you think you're fat, and therefore you aspire to be skinnier. This will to be skinny purely for the beauty standard is put in the same box as the need to lose weight to be healthier. I personally cannot separate them. I am overweight and I feel how that has a negative effect on my life. But whenever I attempt to get on track to lose weight, I go from 0 to 100 and attempt to hate myself into a better body, forgetting all the stuff I said earlier about how my body isn't meant to be beautiful. It's meant for me to live in. And this will to lose weight, to live better, is overshadowed by the will to finally be skinny like all the other girls. But because I am so far away from that ideal, I just give up and go back to my healthy habits. But I want to clarify that just because you don't have to be pretty doesn't mean you shouldn't lose weight if you're overweight. Being okay with your body doesn't mean you don't want to change it. Physical appearance is not the most important part of a person. Being good looking doesn't automatically make you cool, and not being good looking cannot take away from your existing coolness. In this case, by coolness, I mean a general positive feeling others have towards a person. And yeah, you don't really have to care about what others think about you, but it sure as hell is nice to be liked. I have another story to prove my point. I once showed my friend a YouTuber I thought looked like him, and my friend was like, ew, he's so ugly. And I was so confused because in my eyes, that YouTuber is so cool. Like, I see him as this like fun, cool guy because he makes very interesting and fun videos. So it was obvious that me and my friend saw this YouTuber in very different ways because of our previous experiences, or lack thereof, with him. And it's the same with other people in your life. You don't have to be pretty because people in your life that see you in a positive light already see you as enough. If you search up being ugly is a choice on YouTube, you'll be presented with dozens of videos showing you various ways you can enhance your appearance, with the YouTuber's beautiful faces shown in videos' thumbnails as proof. I do feel inclined to disagree with the idea that being ugly is a choice, just because phrased this way, it makes it seem like ugly people are actively choosing to be ugly, which isn't true. It's a passive choice, which means they just aren't making the active choice to look better. But technically, the idea is right. Apart from a very small group of objectively outwardly ugly people, whether it's from their appearance being so far from their time and place as ideal, or from the presence of external indicators of bad health that the person cannot change, apart from that very small group, most people can choose to not be ugly. And these YouTubers nail in the fact that these at-home beauty enhancement procedures are not expensive and anyone could do them with some time and effort. But the reason I brought up the idea that being ugly is a choice is that I think it implicitly pushes people to judge other people's appearances even more. This idea may make people think if being ugly is a choice, then ugly people choose to be ugly because they're lazy, entitled, and overall bad people. Therefore, my mistreatment towards them is justified, and I need to look good to not be seen as a bad person. I think this way of thinking feels reasonable to a lot of people because of the halo effect I talked about earlier. So, really, the being ugly is a choice idea is a manifestation of the halo effect, and it extends beyond these innocent videos about beauty enhancements. We had the body positivity movement a few years ago that is mostly remembered by the fat acceptance movement that was part of it. The core beliefs of the body positivity movement are all bodies deserve to be loved, and we should focus on the health and functionality of our bodies instead of their outward appearances. But in the mainstream, these beliefs were changed to just fat bodies deserve to be loved, and then further bastardized into unhealthy fat bodies should it be changed. This last idea is what a lot of people think all of the body positivity movement was, and this eventually led to the movement's downfall. But another thing I think led to the downfall of the body positivity movement was that people felt tired of seeing people that they considered fat and ugly and feeling that they would be judged if they were mean to ugly people like they were used to. This is why thin is back in again and people feel so comfortable judging others by their looks again. This is why when I say you don't have to be pretty, I don't necessarily mean that you need to love yourself. Because that idea of self-love gets bastardized into the belief that you shouldn't change even if you're unhealthy, which makes it so people get tired of unhealthy, ugly people loving their bodies and eventually double down on their mistreatment, which leads to a belief that everyone needs to be pretty to be respected. Although the self-love part of body positivity is nice, on a large scale it creates problems. One of these problems is that people think loving your body is seeing your body as perfect, when in reality it means understanding that you have flaws and doing what you can to have a better, healthier body to live in. But this true meaning will always get lost in translation to the mainstream. So my solution is the other part of the body positivity movement, the one about focusing on the health and functionality of our bodies instead of their outward appearances, as well as body neutrality, which is when we are just okay with our bodies and the bodies and faces of others. My target audience for this video are girls my age. But from my last video, I've seen that most of my audience is actually older than me. So I want to say something about the anti-aging craze. I could make a whole separate video about this because younger and younger people have started worrying and trying to prevent the appearance of aging. Why? Because subconsciously or consciously, they know that society sees youth as an integral part of beauty, and therefore looking young longer ensures that they are seen as beautiful and therefore better to others and themselves longer. In other words, the anti-aging craze exists because society values beauty a lot, and most of what I said against the need to feel pretty in this video can also be said against the need to look young. Being old and being ugly are separate things, and neither of them are bad. But I also want to repeat what I said in the beginning. Chances are you're not ugly, and chances are you're not old. Like, yeah, you're old at 90, but you're objectively not old at 30 or 40. And you might feel like you are because society and the media makes it seem like your entire life is just your teens and 20s, and the rest aren't even worth talking about, when the rest is the actual life. Your teens and 20s are for figuring life out. That's why they are seen as more interesting by the media and are portrayed more in movies, making it seem like they are all there is to life, when in reality, that's not true. They are just the beginning of life. In conclusion, I'll repeat my main points. You don't have to be pretty because what is pretty changes day by day. You don't have to be pretty because nothing is pretty to everyone. You don't have to look pretty or young because in your attempt to look young or pretty, you buy into consumerism, which wastes your money and worsens the planet. You don't have to be pretty because worrying about being pretty prevents you from questioning the importance of beauty. You don't have to look pretty or young because that's not what you're made for, and you don't have to look pretty or young because people in your life that see you in a positive light already see you as enough. So what now? Now you understand that you don't have to be pretty. It feels nice to feel pretty when there is no need or pressure to be pretty, but can you stop needing to be pretty? There's always going to be the expectations of others, and you will be treated differently if you are or aren't pretty to them. And you can definitely use the halo effect I talked about earlier to your advantage, whilst keeping in mind that your innate value doesn't come from your beauty. In my ideal world, there would be no reason to make yourself pretty for others to treat you better, but we are not in this ideal world. You can't make the world stop requiring you to be pretty for it to treat you better, but what you can do is stop requiring beauty from yourself and others. Start seeing facial features as just things that make people recognizable instead of things to pick apart and deem good or bad. Stop viewing beautiful people as better than others and ugly people as worse. Stop considering beauty or lack thereof as an important trait for yourself and others. If enough people get this video's message, then we can change the world to be less superficial together. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for over 700 views on my previous video, as well as 24 subscribers. This is the longest script I've written to this day. It's over 3,000 words long. And I might do a part 2 to this because every time I edited the script, I always had something new to add. This is Star 17. See you next time.